now. All right, Susan, it's over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Brad. I am delighted that Sustainable Furnishings Council and Forest Stewardship Council are together to present this webinar about sourcing Forest Stewardship Council certified materials and products more easily. I am Susan Ingalls. I direct Sustainable Furnishings Council, and many of you have seen me on webinars like this. I'm really, really glad that all of you are here today. We have you all on mute, but we want to hear from you. So please put your comments and questions into the chat, and we will get to them. We're going to hear first from the retailers who are with us today, and then from the suppliers who are with us today. And then we are going to hear from you with all your questions and comments. To start, I want to welcome not only those of you in the audience, but our panelists. We have an illustrious group, including retailers and suppliers. We have David Williams of Williams-Sonoma Incorporated and Jameson Dion of City Furniture and Amanda Vincent of RoyOMartin, Paul Davis of Columbia Forest Products, and Lee Jimerson of Collins Hardwoods. As we get started, wrong slide, y'all. As we get started, I'm going to invite Brad to make sure we know what Forest Stewardship Council is and make sure we understand FSC's antitrust statement.
Great. Thanks, Susan, and thanks to everyone who's here today. My name is Brad Kahn. I'm the Communications Director of the Forest Stewardship Council U.S. office. I think you probably know a bit about FSC, which is why you're here, but we are a forest certification system that operates globally and, of course, in the United States and Canada, where about 40% of our global forests are certified. We are all about helping companies and consumers identify and support wood from responsibly managed forests, including in the furniture that they buy. And because this webinar includes competitors, we like to start these kinds of discussions with a quick antitrust statement. As participants in this meeting, we need to be mindful of the constraints of antitrust laws. There shall be no discussions of agreements or concerted actions that may restrain competition. This prohibition includes the exchange of information concerning individual prices, rates, market practices, or other competitive aspects of an individual company's operations. Each participant is obligated to speak up immediately for the purpose of preventing any discussion falling outside of these bounds. Thank you all for understanding. And Susan, I will turn it back to you.
Okay, thank you, Brad. I really appreciate your keeping us in good order. I want to be sure that everybody knows a tiny bit about Sustainable Furnishings Council. We are in our 15th year. We are a membership organization. Our members include not only suppliers of materials like those who are on this webinar today, and retailers like those who are on this webinar today, but also manufacturers of all manner of furnishings products and interior design firms and others, including environmental non-governmental organizations, which have been instrumental in helping us get started and do the good work we try to do of helping the furniture industry implement more best practices to reduce environmental footprint and helping consumers find the more environmentally safe furnishings that they prefer. We're an educational organization, so if you're interested in what you're learning today, you can come back for more every single month or any day in between. We actually have a certificate course that accredits people who take 6 hours of our education. And we hope that you'll consider that if you're interested too. Our work does not just serve our members. We have initiatives that we work in to help the entire industry, including the What's It Made Of initiative, with which we are particularly concerned to support best practices in supply chain management, encouraging transparency in supply chains and encouraging improvements. And specifically on wood, the Wood Furniture Scorecard is a part of this initiative. The Wood Furniture Scorecard we launched in 2016. It is an assessment of retailers looking at whether they have a policy for sourcing their wood materials and products, and looking at whether it is a robust policy, and looking at whether they seem to be implementing it well, and then what else are they doing out of their concern for sustaining a healthy future. And we score them in these 3 areas. And we, since we started in 2016, have been adding more companies every year. And we've also been upping the ante. So we are really holding companies to continuous improvement. Our scoring does point to Forest Stewardship Council certified material as a way of making sure that you're not inadvertently contributing to deforestation. That is the really big deal about this entire initiative. The furniture industry is a place where illegally harvested wood or wood that comes from forests or sources that are not well managed can be easily hidden because we do have very complex supply chains. So so our industry is vulnerable to making mistakes, and having a policy helps us avoid mistakes. And this scorecard about your policy is supportive of retailers. We give out free advice until we publish the scorecard. The 2021 assessments are in progress now, and the scorecard will be published in October. The results of 2021 will be published in October. So, choosing FSC certified wood is one way to score high on the Wood Furniture Scorecard, but you will also be interested to know that there are other advantages to choosing certified wood. We've been doing consumer research among furniture consumers since 2008, and we see a dramatic rise in their likelihood to choose product made of certified wood, of course, if they like the way it looks and if it's in their price range. But currently we are seeing that 96% of the furniture consumers we're surveying are interested. Just a few years ago, it was 87%. And 5 years before that, it was 58%. So that's a dramatic increase. And most dramatic this year, people are willing to pay more. And this is good news, of course, because it does take money to pay an auditor to complete a certification. Somebody's got to pay for that. So of course it costs a bit more. In furniture, as you all know, it is not always all wood. So even if the FSC certified wood costs a nickel more, the piece of furniture does not necessarily cost appreciably more. So that's also good news for us all. Now, with that, I want to start this discussion so you can really learn how it is for retailers and for suppliers. So, Brad, I am going to turn it over to you and mute myself, and I am going to remind people to send in questions and comments because we do want to hear from you that way.
Great. Thank you so much, Susan. Really appreciate it. And so now we're going to start with our retailers, which David Williams and Jameson Dion. And let's see. So if you guys can unmute yourself, and we'll just, let's see. Can you stop your share there, Susan? Your screen share? So we can see our panelists. This is the magic of the Zoom webinar. All right. Great, thank you. So I guess I'll start with you, Jameson, if you don't mind, and you're going to need to unmute yourself. Just let's start with, can you talk about your wood sourcing policy, why you developed it in the first place, and just how does it tie to your business strategy? How does wood sourcing and thinking about your sourcing policy, how does that tie to what you're trying to do with your business?
Yeah. And if you don't mind, I'll just kind of introduce my company just briefly.
Please.
I work for a retailer called City Furniture. We're located in South Florida. Our headquarters is in Fort Lauderdale, and we've got 22 retail stores all the way from South Miami up through Orlando. We'll do about 800 million in revenue this year. For those on the call, that puts us at about maybe 1/7 the size of Williams-Sonoma in total. So I think you'll see a pretty good contrast between a smaller company like mine relative to someone the size of Williams-Sonoma. And we're a little bit newer in kind of our journey with FSC and sustainable wood. So anyways, I'll just kind of paint that background there. And then to answer your question, we created a sustainable, responsible wood sourcing policy. I believe it was 2 years ago, and we actually did that with the assistance of the Sustainable Furnishings Council and a team that Susan put together. So Susan linked us up with a consultant that she was using at the time, who really kind of helped us craft that policy. And essentially what it states is it puts FSC as kind of the gold standard of our wood sourcing policy. You have to give me half a second. I actually have it pulled up. Our policy, if you don't mind me reading it off, is that we're committed to the responsible use of forestry resources, including the wood used in our furniture. We define wood procured from certified sources. FSC is the gold standard. We work with our suppliers on an ongoing basis to eliminate wood from unacceptable sources and to progressively increase the amount of responsible wood procured over time. There's a little bit more detail in there, but we essentially firmly commit to avoiding wood from unacceptable sources, illegally harvested or traded timber, timber harvested in violation or tradition of traditional or civil rights, and timber that's harvested from areas in which high conservation values are threatened by poor forest management. So I skipped a little bit there in the interest of time. But it was really important to us that we set a very clear standard and communicated it to our suppliers.
That's great, thank you. So David, I'd love for you to talk a bit about Williams-Sonoma, and I guess maybe a bit about the journey that Williams-Sonoma has been on around wood sourcing. Obviously, you can introduce Williams-Sonoma as well, but my guess is a lot of people know of the company.
Thanks, Brad. Yes, I'm David Williams, Sustainability Manager for Williams-Sonoma, Inc. We have 8 brands under the umbrella. You likely know many of them: Pottery Barn, West Elm, Williams-Sonoma itself. We also have Pottery Barn Kids and Teen, smaller brands. Rejuvenation is a newer brand for us. Mark and Graham is a new brand offering gifts online. So those are the assortment of brands in the portfolio, and many of them do furniture. So furniture is a big component to our product offering. And we've been on this journey for responsibly sourced materials for many years. I think it all started with our initial engagement with FSC around FSC certified catalog paper. We actually made a commitment in 2006 to convert all of our paper to FSC certified paper. In 2006, we achieved that in 2007, and then we've achieved it every year since. But it really led to the question of how can we translate that into responsible materials in our furniture. So we created the FSC, or our wood procurement policy, and launched it in 2008. We also engaged with Global Forest and Trade Network. Similar to Jameson, we engaged a consultant. We reached out to GFTN. It was an arm of the World Wildlife Fund. And we really developed a responsible sourced wood sourcing program with them. The policy was really the initial engagement, the initial tool to set our expectations with our suppliers. And we published it on our website, so it was public to our customers and investors. And I think it was really the starting point of the conversation. We have built our traceability and due diligence program and engagement program from that initial policy launch into something quite robust over the years. I think of the policy as the initial engagement and setting those expectations with our suppliers. But our policy is very similar, Jameson, to City Furniture's policy. In many regards, we want to avoid any not acceptable wood from illegal sources. We want to promote responsibly sourced wood from responsible forestry. And we set a preference for FSC as the gold standard. That was the beginning of our journey.
Thanks, David. Well, actually, we got a question in the chat that also ties to the next question I had for each of you. And this is going to come back to you, Jameson. You're muted. So the question was, does City Furniture plan to offer an easy way for shoppers to see which furniture contains FSC certified wood in the future, and specifically for online shoppers? And I had the broader question, which was, what do you hear from your customers, and how does that influence your thinking when it comes to sort of wood sourcing or sustainability more broadly?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for the question, Barbara. We right now do a much better job of identifying our FSC certified products in our showroom. Our core business is really kind of brick and mortar and customers physically coming into the showroom. So if you came into our showroom, you'd see hang tags on the product. You'd see a really robust point of sale that kind of talks about the green aspect of the furniture, as well as I didn't mention earlier. This is kind of a little bit outside of topic, but we also partner with Arbor Day for each one of those products that are FSC certified. We also plant a tree for every unit sold through Arbor Day, which is kind of cool. But we do have a little bit of a ways to go to making those products really, really identifiable on our website. We're currently working on that. So you read our minds. And then I'm sorry, what was the second part of that question, Brad?
Just, what do you hear from your customers in terms of sustainability? Does it register? What are they asking for? What do you hear about the FSC products that you offer specifically?
The response from our customers has been extremely positive. There are, Susan, threw some data up in the beginning that kind of said that, yes, customers are willing to pay more for FSC products. And I think the same is true for a lot of socially responsible or green products in general, whether that's organic or fair trade, FSC. FSC does have a much higher recognition among our customers based on some of the polling we've done than most of those kind of green options that are out there, which makes FSC a really good partner. But especially our younger demographic, folks that are under the age of 40, I think this is even more important to them. And I think that's probably a result of the education that organizations like FSC has done, but also what people see, shopping in a lot of places. Companies like Williams-Sonoma have really just to give David a lot of credit, have really led the way with educating customers and really kind of saturating the airwaves and print with the benefits of this type of product. And we're a competitor of Williams-Sonoma. It's like we also want customers to be to have a desire to buy our products for the same reason they have a desire to buy his products. So we've really tried to target that, and we have a lot of customers that are asking for it and are happy that we offer it.
That's great. Thank you. David, I'm going to same question to you, but a slightly different take. First of all, I know that you can identify FSC certified products on your website, but the question is, what do you hear from your customers about FSC or sustainability more broadly? But also a question came into the chat from Michael Washburn about, do your investors ask about sustainability, and how does that play? Honestly, I don't know if you're publicly traded. I probably should know that, but how does investor influence play into this, and what do you hear from that audience as well?
Thanks, Brad. Yeah, we are publicly traded, and we do we have a broad range of customers. Obviously, we have a lot of different demographics, and I'd say FSC is a great selling point for furniture. Some of our green-minded, environmentally minded customers are seeking FSC certified furniture. It may be for a LEED certified building they're working on, or it's a preference they have for their own environmental awareness. But I'd say it's also a great selling point when a customer's already decided that they like this piece of furniture. It's just a tipping point. Letting them know it's FSC certified is a great reinforcement for their desire to purchase. And then, speaking to the attributes of it and how the benefits, it not only benefits the environment, but their own home and their own choices, really supporting the growth of FSC. But back to your question about investors. Yeah, we have investor questions about our sustainability initiatives. We are now reporting to the CDP on climate. We submitted our first climate disclosure publicly last year. We've been reporting to the CDP on forest as well. That was actually the result of an investor request a few years ago. So investors are looking at this. It's definitely something that they're aware of. Forestry is definitely tied closely to climate, so that's also very important for us. We started with our forest and cotton initiatives initially, really focusing on the largest material volumes that we used in our products. But it's really now folded under a bigger umbrella for a climate goal for the company. And we just announced our science-based target this last Earth Day, committing to reducing emissions globally by 2030. So it's a big initiative, and I'm very happy to see that these responsibly sourced material initiatives are rolling up under that. And I think that's actually having a great impact in the investor community.
Of course, we love all the positive talk about FSC, but no conversation would be complete without some questions about challenges and how you've worked to overcome them. And maybe this is also tied to advice you might offer to folks who are maybe new to this, either sustainability journey or wood sourcing specifically. So what are the kinds of challenges you encounter? And I guess I'll just keep the cadence going. This will come to you first, Jameson. What challenges have you encountered around FSC sourcing, and how have you overcome them? And do you have any advice for folks who might be sort of newer on their sustainability journey?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is really just finding the right supplier. I think one mistake that I made early on was, my team, came to me. I'm responsible for sourcing our product, and they came to me and said, we'd like to test out, FSC on some of our products and see how consumers respond to it. So I immediately reached out to a couple of our, best factories or closest factories, and I said, okay, we're going to use FSC in our product. And then I started looking at prices, and it was prohibitive. And what I came to realize is that, there are certain suppliers that have, obviously their specialties and their sources. And, I ended up finding another supplier that specialized in FSC. In fact, they don't produce anything that's not FSC certified. And their prices were extremely competitive because, it was a round peg through a round hole. That's what they did. And we've since purchased a lot of that product. They've done very well with it. So I think, the biggest obstacle for us was really trying to source things from people that didn't really have a good supply base for that type of product, and correcting that.
That's great. Thank you. David, same question. Just the challenges you've encountered around your wood sourcing, how you've addressed them, and any sort of broader guidance or advice you might offer to folks newer on the journey.
Yeah, it's obviously they're a long-term commitment as a company. We had ups and downs along the pathway. Initially, we actually asked all of our suppliers to become FSC certified. We said, this is important to us. We want you to be FSC certified. We want to offer this to our customer. We see it as a key differentiator for us in the competitive market. And they did. They got certified. And then we didn't buy any certified FSC certified collections. Really, it was about the price premium for FSC wood and becoming certified. We didn't have that initial engagement with suppliers on how to get there, and we needed to really do that legwork, really working with them to understand their hurdles. And we also needed to engage every tier in our business, the merchants, the sourcing teams, executive leadership, on why FSC is important. We knew it was important for the environment, but we needed to show the business case at each level. Asking for FSC after the fact is just always going to come with a price tag. You really need to design it in the beginning. It's got to be something you discuss up front. It's the expectation. We want these collections to be FSC certified. Let's make it happen. That's where you can, find ways, creative ways to bring down the pricing if the cost of the materials and the certifications are prohibitive. You have to be creative about working around that. Sometimes it's about increasing the business demand. That's certainly been successful for us. But it's also about meeting the suppliers where they're at and really listening to them, not just telling them, get FSC certified, we want to buy FSC certified products, and then not wanting to pay for them. It's about meeting them where they're at, helping them along the journey, and seeing that you're committed as a company to the long term. So we work with some suppliers for decades, and it's about bringing some of them along as well. So it's really about engagement. Again, I think the policy was our initial set of expectations with our suppliers, but it was about building a program that really included their real challenges in the world, and bringing them along and making it a long-term commitment. We've been doing it for years. We've been adding collections for years. Now we're at the point where customers know to look for us for FSC certified collections, which is great. And that's, we just need to keep continuing that partnership with our supply chain.
Well, thank you, both of you. We're going to actually now take this cue about engaging your suppliers early and often to talk to a few suppliers. And, as someone who has been working in and around FSC for 20 plus years, I'm very familiar with the dynamic where when we're talking to the demand side, retailers, people selling FSC products, we always hear, where is it? We can't find it. It's too expensive. How do I get my hands on it? And then when we talk to suppliers, they say, where's the demand? I got so much FSC, I can't, how do I move it? So part of the idea for this webinar was to bring, these two pieces together, and ideally try to tease out ways to make the whole system work a little bit more smoothly for all parties. And so we're really happy today to have Amanda Vincent from RoyOMartin, Paul Davis from Columbia Forest Products, and Lee Jimerson from Collins. And so, Paul, you're muted. And so now we're going to turn to the supply side of this equation. And I guess, Amanda, I'm going to start with you. If you could just tell us a bit about RoyOMartin and the products you make as they relate to the furniture industry specifically.
Yes, of course. RoyOMartin, we are a family-owned business, and we are 98 years old. We are based in Louisiana. We have about 580,000 acres of FSC-certified timber, and we have 3 of the largest OSB plywood manufacturing plants based in Louisiana and Texas. So we have the wood and we make the product. We make OSB, plywood panels, timbers, and boards. A lot of that is furniture grade, and we do sell quite a bit of FSC plywood and furniture grade plywood. I do want to talk a little bit about the market, because that's what everybody's wanting to know, as we are a manufacturer. So the United States is seeing about a 4 million home shortage. We can go back to 2009 when the millennials got out of the market. They saw their parents go through the housing market crash and said, no thanks, I'm just going to rent. That number is actually, depending on what study you look at, we could be 5.5 million homes short. And when COVID happened, we had this giant demographic who decided all of a sudden, I'm going to move into a house. I'm going to buy a house. I need space. This is long-term. I'm going to move out of a high rent city and I'm going to move to the suburbs. And so we are seeing an unprecedented housing market. We have a lot of supply as far as forestry goes, but as we like to say, it's like we have all of this forestry and only one door to put it through. And that one door is us, the manufacturer. And there are not enough of us. So in short, supply shortages are driving the pricing. There's just a very, very limited availability. So with that in mind, as a manufacturer, I can tell you that we do, as we are FSC certified, and we have been since 2002, it is a priority for us. We have all the timber, almost 600,000 acres of FSC certified. So we prioritize our FSC orders. So if we get an order that's just not FSC and then an order for FSC, we're going to prioritize the FSC.
Thanks, Amanda. Lee, I'm coming to you with the same question, but Paul, you're going to need to unmute yourself because I'm coming to you next. So Lee, tell us a bit about Collins and the products you make as they relate to the furniture sector.
Sure. Good morning, Brad, and everybody that's on the call. So Collins has been around since 1855, 166 years old. We started in Pennsylvania. We have 100,000 acres of mixed deciduous forest back there. Cherry, soft maple, red oak are the main species, but about 8 or 10 altogether. Out west in Southern Oregon and Northern California, we have softwood forests, white fir, sugar pine, ponderosa pine. And then between the two sawmills, we have a composite panel plant, which makes pine particle board and then truewood siding and trim. And so all of our products are available as FSC certified, and we've been certified 25 years, about same age as FSC. So we've been at it for a long time, and early on, just a really short history. Early on, we thought we'd get certified, and people just start beating down our doors for our FSC wood, and we'll sit back. After a few years of that and nobody coming, and we started to have to get a little more proactive and started. We've been to every green build since it started, and we've been to the Living Futures, and so pretty active in promoting what we have and using it. And we're a small company compared to a lot of the forest products companies. So FSC has been a very good way to make yourself a niche product in a commodity industry. What you get for it can definitely vary. So myself as a market development, product development person, the best asset I've seen of FSC is it really opens doors. If I go out there and I call on an architect or a builder or something, start talking to them about FSC, they may not even buy it in the end, but it really opens doors. So whether it's a snowboard manufacturer, whatever you want to call it, furniture manufacturer, overseas, like in the furniture industry, really opened doors back when in China and Vietnam, as well as California, locally here in Portland and Oregon, folks have been certified. Some of them have dropped their certification, but they continue to buy because of different owners. It's really highlighted the importance of forest management and the impact that people further downstream can actually have on a landscape with FSC. So just a quick thing of what people can do. I think FSC has done a fantastic job in the last couple of years coming out with the buildwithfsc.org website. You think of build with, maybe you're thinking of houses, but it's perfect for furniture folks as well. You're building furniture as well. So, and that's where I would go. First thing to do is go to buildwithfsc.org, and you will find millions of board feet, square feet of FSC certified product out there that's available. As Amanda pointed out, it's a little weird times in forest products right now. I agree with her that there's a severe shortage right now. There's been a severe overabundance of wood since 2008. So getting that balance, and it's really difficult where it is now. But that's the one point I've told a couple customers is that I can't get any wood. I said, well, I say ask the software guy for certified, because just like Amanda said, we'll give preference to the folks that want certified, whether they're paying more or not. That's our, what we want to do is promote our FSC product. So that's one small tidbit. If you can't get wood, ask for certified right now. It actually might get you some wood. And where prices are, it doesn't, so much now is about availability rather than price. I mean, people are not asking about price right now, which is weird, but it's all about availability. So whatever little, we use it as a way to sell our product, but you can also use it as a way to buy product right now.
Thanks, Lee. Paul, tell us a bit about Columbia Forest Products and what your company offers with respect to furniture.
All right. Thanks, Brad. Thanks, Susan, and everybody for inviting Columbia to participate. Founded in 1997, Columbia Forest Products is North America's leading decorative hardwood, plywood, and veneer manufacturer. We have 7 plants sprinkled across North America, and our journey with FSC started in 1998. Actually, 1997, we investigated what we deployed in 98. We kept an eye on a good peer firm of ours on the east side of Oregon, Collins, and we kind of, in some ways, took a great deal of inspiration from them, and have enjoyed partnering or always seeing Lee at every green build and every living building challenge event as we found the green building market to be receptive to FSC in these early stages. We also took the formaldehyde out of our wood assembly process in 2006 with over 100, we calculated the other day, 125 million sheets of product has been shipped since that transition has taken place, and that benefits cabinet manufacturers, fabricators, and furniture manufacturers here in the United States. We have highly customized products. It's all decorative hardwood plywood. We also do some frame stock, which is like the bones of an upholstered furniture in the Southeast with a desirable poplar hardwood panel. But we, in the past, when I started 20 years ago at Columbia, we were doing active business with Bassett, Hooker, other major furniture manufacturers who over time offshored to some degree. And we welcome back that business to the extent that we can find ourselves there. The product we make is square, it's rectangular. If you can incorporate squares into your designs, we're here to support with a turnkey solution. We also do specialize in plank matching and other means to avoid center match requirements in furniture manufacture to enable nested CNC manufacture and more efficient throughput. Whereas in the old days, traditionally furniture manufacturers would cut each component and then center a veneer on each component. So times have advanced. We've developed a great deal of expertise supporting the kitchen cabinet industry as a major supplier for semi-custom and custom cabinetry. And we're excited about that. I agree with Lee, it's been a great journey. And in terms of FSC takes you a certain path. If you're a primary manufacturer like Columbia, it kind of guides you. You kind of walk the path. We started with FSC, and really in connection with FSC, we went to green building and found out that added formaldehyde wasn't really desirable. And we got involved, got the formaldehyde out, and then dealing with living building challenge, found out that, you know, transparency was a factor. So now we're more forthcoming on our ingredients and do our best to cooperate with manufacturers, others, to also supply that, because those credentials are important as well. FSC can be challenging, especially for primaries. Controlling wood that we mix with FSC is a big priority, and it's time consuming. But we think of our FSC systems as kind of our Lacey due diligence platform as well. So we're basically meeting two objectives with a single activity, which is lean, and we have a lean culture at Columbia. So finally, you know, if you can realize designs that involve flat panels, Columbia Forest Products, RoyOMartin, and Collins through their particle board, we're all here to support. We also have, and I'm especially proud of, over the years, built a fantastic nationwide chain of custody distribution system. These are all the A-list players in markets we serve. And if you think about it, maintaining that chain of custody market is challenging. And these distributors, buoyed by green building demand primarily, have stayed the course and stayed with us, which is of vital importance to the success of FSC in the United States and Canada. So thanks again for having us aboard. And the employee owners of Columbia really appreciate the chance to represent our products and our commitment to FSC.
Thanks, Paul. So I'm going to take a question from the chat here. It's coming to you, Amanda. And I'm, going to sort of adapt it a bit, moderator's prerogative. So we hear time and again from manufacturers, there isn't consumer demand to make healthier, more sustainable furnishings. Cost is a factor in not doing this. The question was, what's the key in getting costs down? But I would say, what's the key in sort of making the case? And it may be on more than just price. To convince manufacturers to use FSC certified wood. How does that dynamic go, in your experience, and what's successful when you're talking to a customer who maybe is considering FSC but isn't quite sure about it? And you're muted.
Sorry
I'll
about
say
that.
that to everyone.
So we are a little different. We have no problem making FSC certified wood. We could make it, I could make a call and we could run FSC right now, but we sell to wholesale distributors. So there are several layers before we get to the customer, and the customer, will typically go from a buyer, wholesale distributor, and us. And we do not see the demand from those big wholesalers. They're not asking. We do make it, we do sell it, and those typically go to large projects, be it a government project, city building, something that's in the LEED certification is a lot of that. We will have small orders for FSC for furniture that go to some of the other customers that we work with, but the key is getting the wholesalers to demand it.
So. Thanks. Lee, what's your experience, and how do you sell it? You said it can help open doors, but do you hear there's no demand, and what do you say when when you hear that?
Sure. Well, that was a two-part question I saw from the participant. So one of the big things FSC's done in the last 25 years, when they started out, it was FSC pure or non-certified, and so now the standard is FSC mixed. So we were able to lower our manufacturing costs substantially when we were able to mix our FSC logs with FSC controlled logs from sources that our foresters verify are meeting at least the state standards. So That's saved a lot of money. You could kiln dry it together. You could store it together. And in fact, just in the last week, I had a discussion with an architect about that. And once I explained to them, you know, is it worth $150, $1,000 to keep things separately and all the extra petroleum and resources needed to just keep this stuff separately? So FSC has been good. There's certification creep, and we keep pushing the red list chemicals, and we keep staying at state of the art of how to manage forests, and that gets better over time, state of the art, but also getting more user friendly so that we can keep our costs down has been important, and that's sort of been on the manufacturing side. And one thing when you're talking to a customer and they're saying, "Oh, I don't think I can afford FSC," well, and a lot of times we say, "Well, you really can't afford not to buy FSC." So much of the industry, so much of Wall Street is based on externalizing environmental costs on someone else. And so getting out of the mindset is like, okay, I want this cheap piece of furniture from China that came from Siberian forest. Yeah, it's cheap, but go look at Siberia or compared to go look at an FSC forest. So you're making your choice to degrade someone else's backyard to save you a buck. And not that we're trying to guilt somebody into it, but that explains it costs something. It costs money to do something right if you're actually planting, paying your taxes, taking care of the land. I mean, we see the resource not as the trees. The trees are here and gone just like us. The real resource is the topsoil. That's what's going to carry on generations and generations. So yes, it does cost more to manage your topsoil rather than managing for maximum production. And I think what we've tried to do is try and bring up the rest of the industry with us, rather than push down and say, don't buy non-certified, trying and encouraging the other folks to raise the bar. So raise the boat for everybody. And it's a little bit like religion or politics where you don't want to step into, but if someone doesn't want it, there's so many people out there that do want it and value it. I'll talk to them, but if somebody is pretty defensive, I'm not really going to try and change somebody because there's a good chance you aren't going to be able to change them. And there's 10 other people in line that you can talk to. So it's great.
Paul, same question. First of all, maybe tell us a bit about who Columbia is, not specifically, but the kinds of customers you're selling to, and how you help make the case where there's some hesitancy or questions or concerns.
Sure. Columbia is a multi-channel seller. We sell retail where there is selected demand for FSC certified products, especially strong in Canada. We also, that's probably maybe 20 to 30% of our business. Kitchen cabinets is the mainstay for us. And that's over half of our business, with the balance kind of, in there in the way of architectural woodwork and fabrication. I agree with Lee that in terms of how a significant FSC mix was in terms of changing the availability of product to the consumers. We're able to work these types. We're able to work the retail channel. We're able to work through distribution, and without too much. Without too much pain or what used to be advanced lead times. We're now right in sync through distribution, and we can see, and we follow as we manage the category of FSC at Columbia. We can follow and see that the distributors are writing the business, even small bits of business, which tells me the distributors are open to doing this kind of business. And again, they have a chain of custody they need to underpin and fund, so they're all active, and I don't get a sense that there's anything happening to discourage FSC in our supply chain, because we've worked hard to make folks aware of the fact that it's available. We do run into situations I can remember one dialogue where it was a furniture company in the United States it was a frame stock related discussion. And I said there was not really much of a premium to our product when it comes to FSC. But then when he says, well, I'm buying out of Brazil, a softwood, panel out of Brazil. Now, what can you do for me? It's like, well, you're in the United States, and this is a decorative hardwood plywood product. And so, you know, sometimes whatever pricing or those types of issues that come up is related for us in part as being a domestic supplier in Canada and the United States as opposed to being overseas. But we do our best to accommodate and work with folks to realize improvement and meet those goals that we can. But it's a challenge. FSC mix was a total game changer, though. I can't overstate that enough. From the old days, we used to have log decks that would sit there, the FSC logs, they'd turn black and age, our recoveries would go down. You have to clean the whole mill out before you run FSC 100%. It was just not really practical for us. And we were able to impart a much greater purchase perimeter and more purchased FSC using the system far and away beyond where we were 10 or 15 years ago when we kind of got our start in earnest with percentage system handling.
That's great.
Did I answer the question?
So I'm not going to talk about, yes, it did.
Okay.
I'm not going to talk about FSC mix, Doug, but I did put the link to the labels in the chat. Except Lenora also. So FSC mix is a way to basically operate in line with how mills and manufacturers are operating, which is there's different ways. There's a credit system, there's a volume system, there's a percentage system, but basically you buy FSC when you can get it, you add that volume of that species or product to your account, and then you sell FSC when the market is demanding it. And it allows flexibility at the manufacturer level in the chain of custody, so you do not have to segregate a pile of FSC logs or boards or panels or whatever your input is, because that segregation and the clean out of the mill or the manufacturing line is time intensive and cost prohibitive. In order to make sure that the product being sold as FSC meets a minimum sort of baseline of environmental performance, all wood that manufacturing facility buys, whether it's FSC or not, it needs to be controlled, which is a risk-based approach to try to avoid the worst of the worst. Things like violation of human rights. In the United States, the issues are conversion or deforestation or destruction of high conservation value forests, which is largely old growth, but there are some other HCVs out there as well around rare, threatened, and endangered species. So there's a lot more I could say about this, and I love the sound of my own voice, but I'm going to turn it back to the panelists. And I'm actually going to open this up to all five of them and just say, where do you see the market heading with respect to responsible wood sourcing? If you could keep this brief, I'd love to hear from all five of you, and we have 7 minutes, and I want to leave 2 minutes for Susan. So keep it to a minute. Where are things going? What do you see? Prognosticate for us and look into the crystal ball. What's coming with respect to wood sourcing, and somehow indicate to me if you want to go first, or I'll call on you. David, good, thank you.
Thanks, Brad. I think customers are becoming much more savvy, much more aware of environmental issues, and they're looking for ways that they can decide with their dollars on how to make change in environmental issues. I do think, the pandemic really showed us that customers are investing in their homes, and they're looking for products that meet their own values. And I think that retailers need to respond to that and be aware of FSC and other certified materials and responsible materials. I do think that it is the way of the future. It's just going to become more and more apparent that when companies don't invest in responsibly sourced materials. Was that a minute?
I'm trying to multitask. Thanks, David. Who wants to go next? Jameson, go ahead, and then Lee.
Yeah, earlier Susan shared a chart that I think had a poll results from consumers for the last, I think, 3 years that asked whether they'd be willing to spend more for FSC products. And each year, that the percentage of respondents that said yes increased. And I think that's what we're, both David and I are seeing with our sales. We have more and more consumers that are saying, I want to purchase something that looks good in my home and makes me feel good about the purchase. And, one thing that's really nice about FSC is it's something, especially in a world where everything is politicized now, is something that everybody can get behind. I mean, it is not a polarizing issue. I mean, whether you have a conservative or a liberal that is buying your furniture, both want to look out for the forest. I mean, that's a universal desire for all of us. So it's a really easy way to appeal to all of your customers as opposed to being polarizing, which I really, really like. But I think it's going to continue to increase in terms of our sales. The other thing is, as you see more and more retailers, especially with increase of e-commerce, kind of saturate the market with product, it really allows those of us that are willing to invest a little bit of an ingenuity and just a little bit more in our products to really stand out among a lot of other competitors. So I think we're going to continue to sell more of it.
We'll be cutting your 30-second spot right after this, Jameson. Thank you so much. Lee?
Sure. Just one quick point about FSC mix that I want to emphasize. So a lot of people have questions about that. When you buy something that's FSC mix, you are getting the full amount of FSC product. We have a spreadsheet. So if you buy 1,000 board feet of FSC from us, we deduct our credit by 1,000 board feet. You're not getting 50% or 70%. So you are getting the full value. And that's been a big question. So where is the market going over the next decade? Well, I think climate change seems to be at the forefront of social discussion on what's going on. I think that directly and indirectly is going to help all sorts of environmentally friendly products, including forest products, and especially forest products, because the forests are found to be one of the cheapest and easiest and the most natural carbon scrubbing item out there that doesn't need to be recreated by mankind and use a bunch of carbon to make the photovoltaic. So it's nature's true photovoltaic. So it's going to continue. The youth, I think, are going to be pushing it going forward, which is great. I think they're having effects on their grandparents. So I think it's going to continue to grow. It'd be, Brad, you could talk to us about the trajectory of FSC the last 25 years. And I know it peaked about 10 years ago and things were sort of slow for 5 years. FSC has made a bigger focus on wood products rather than paper products in the last 5 years, and that's showing. So a lot of it's going to be with FSC's leadership keeping at it for us, and with wood products being a good answer to climate change, or part of it.
That's great. Thank you, Lee. Amanda?
Yeah, so we are a little bit different. We're far removed from the retail side of things, but where I see things going, what we are eyeballing is a potential infrastructure bill, where the government would then put a lot of money into roads and bridges and our infrastructure. And that would, my guess is that a lot of that would be FSC required. So we'll see. It's Congress, so who knows?
Interesting. Paul, round us out here. Where are things headed?
Well, I'll speak a little bit more from the FSC system itself. We've had 2 years now under what's referred to as a COVID derogation, which is a fancy word for exception to the rules. As a central office manager, I do not have to go out and visit my sites. I've been doing it just like this on Teams. And we're finding that we found additional or different nonconformances with the technical approach that Teams-based advanced audit and document sampling generated. There's a motion in front of the General Assembly to possibly contemplate remote audit. With the new technology, that makes sense, rather than having us fly all over the place where we periodically visit, and our external auditors, of course, are periodically sampling us in such a way as that every facility is visited every 3 years. So is there something to be gained there? Possibly. Also, is transparency another motion in front of the General Assembly? The idea of disclosing or sharing, where we're sourcing shape files to show and demonstrate to an increasingly informed public where exactly our activity is focused, so people can look at aerial photographs, understand the areas where we're active, and understand the impacts and how we do things. So a little bit more electronic engagement and this technology enabling us as we work to decarbonize and to tell our story. Brad, you remember some time ago working with Mendocino Hardwoods, where you actually, during a green build, took people by clicking in cooperation with Google right to the ground, where you could walk through a forest and see, just a forest after harvest and what the impacts look like. Telling those types of stories and using technology to help us connect in a very real and transparent way, I think, is something that we could be able to continue to leverage. Finally, blockchain and other methods of creating a supply chain with assurance, whether I like it or not, I think that's coming too, probably within the scope of the next decade, which would round out my career. So decarbonization and that type of supply chain verification and just the ongoing march of technology will affect all of us here and in FSC as well. Thanks.
That's great. Thank you, Paul. And thanks to all of the panelists and all of you who are still with us, the 39 hardy souls. Susan, to you for a final comment.
Thank you so much. I too thank everybody in the audience and on the panel, especially those of you on the panel. Thank you for what you've shared. One of my big takeaways from this is how important our communication is. Communication has driven growing demand for FSC, and now I hear about a gap between what is available and what the distributors know the consumers want. So both those selling to the furniture industry and those selling the FSC. But both of you need to talk to those distributors. Make sure those sales reps know that consumers want certified wood, that consumers care. So thank you so much for all that you are doing in your companies. Each one of you is making a difference to save the forests of the world, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, I think we've reached the end. We've recorded this, so it will be on the Sustainable Furnishings Council website. And we will, I guess you'll probably get a little wrap-up email saying with the link to it if you need it. And I put my email into the chat if anyone has specific FSC questions. Certainly don't be shy. We can also be found at us.fsc.org. And thank you all for being here, and we wish you all a good day. So thanks to the panelists. And
thanks, Brad. Bye. Thanks, Susan.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks all.